Good morning, everyone. My name is Ramon Johnson, and it's my privilege and honor to welcome all of you this morning to this webinar. You are the future of the specialty, and as such, it is paramount that we present to you the importance of board certification for all of you, but more importantly, for the patients that we care for. Next slide. Joining me today are two outstanding board members and educators, and I would like them to introduce themselves to you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Felix Sanko. I'm an emergency physician in Minnesota. In fact, I just did a shift yesterday on a busy Monday at Regents Hospital in St. Paul.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Wallace Carter. You probably figured out that Ray is talking to us from the other coast, where it's still morning. I'm Vice Chair of Clinical Faculty Affairs at New York Presbyterian Cornell and Senior Associate Medical Director for EMS at New York Presbyterian.
Great, thanks. And I guess I'll introduce myself as actually ABEM's president, and I actually practice in Southern California, as you just heard, at a community hospital.
So today, there'll be information and information transferred, but our intent is also to have this be a dialogue. So the chat will be open. If you want to pose a question, maybe not to the public or anonymously, you can use the Q&A function, and we'll monitor that and hopefully answer all your questions.
Great.
So Dr. Johnson, what's ABEM been up to?
Yeah, thank you, Felix. So who are ABEM exactly? So we have a number of parts of the organization that are here to serve you. The board of directors are 17 clinically active emergency physicians from around the country. The board consists of physicians from a variety of practice settings, including rural, community, and academic centers. And we also have a public member on our board. That is in addition to over 700 active volunteers who represent all walks of the emergency medicine community. When you ask what is ABEM, what we do is certification. Our mission is really to ensure the highest standards in the specialty of emergency medicine. And this mission pertains to all of us. It's your profession and it's your reputation now. You provide the quality, and ABEM verifies it against a national standard. We are one of 24 ABMS, which is the American Board of Medical Specialties. We're one of 24 specialties within that organization. And along with the initial certification process, we also work to create and implement a continuing certification process that encourages lifelong learning. And so ABEM supports and promotes the value of certification with other EM organizations, research on the value of certifications, and provides resources to promote your certification and the work you do. We also promote and really want to understand more about what kind of work do we all do that promotes the value of ABEM certified physicians. Next slide. So the future is bright. Meeting the highest standards in the specialty means that you're among the best of the best and are the gold standard in leading care of patients in the emergency department. This is an important time in your career, so congratulations to all of you in your upcoming graduation. Next slide. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn over the next part of the presentation to Dr. Carter, who will take us down the road to ABEM certification. Thanks, Wally.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about what it takes to get you from where you are now to, if you will, the aspirational rival point of being able to call yourself a board certified specialist, and more importantly, an ABEM certified board certified specialist. The road looks a little twisty and a little turny, but understand that that road has been traveled by the 45,000 diplomates that precede you. So you will find lots of road maps and road signs and lots of help to guide you along the process. We've all been through this. That's the nice thing about this. Everybody who is an ABEM certified physician is going through what you've gone through. We've taken the exams, we've taken the oral exams, and we're lifelong learners. So we're not asking you to do anything different than the folks did who had candidate number one back in the 80s. Next slide, please. So what are the 3 steps? It's amazing how we can take something that requires money, an incredible amount of time. It'll take lots of time on Zoom and a lot of stress to get, and we can put it into one slide. It's a little bit more complicated, but essentially what we want you to do is we want you to apply for certification, and we want you to apply for certification early. as you get through this year and you graduate and you move on to a new job and you have maybe to a new location and you have new family thing, lots of things are going to pile up. The one thing you don't want to not do is apply. Get the certification application in early, put it to bed, and then we will contact you the rest of the time to get you through the process. The qualifying exam is pretty straightforward. Once you start that application, you are then in the queue to get the qualifying exam, and then upon passing that, the oral exam. But you have entered at that point the concept of being able to be called board eligible. Now, board eligibility, it's important for you to understand, has a 5-year window. From the time you are certified by your program director to having finished the requirements of the program, you move into a 5-year board term of eligibility. And the reason for that is very simple. ABEM found over the years that we found folks that were using the term board eligible who either weren't capable of or did not take the qualifying exam. And essentially, by using that term, they were essentially devaluing the stock of the ABEM diplomate and the folks that were in the pathway. So we have a 5-year window of board eligibility, but keep in mind, we want more emergency positions. So if anything comes up, family issues, you get deployed, anything happens and you need more than 5 years, we're willing to work with you. We want you to be in the specialty, and we want you to have that designation of ABEM certified. And once the exams we'll talk a little bit about, we can have the next slide. So graduating on or before October 31st, you are able to come in and take the written exam that will be given in the fall of 2024. But again, as I said, it is incredibly important. Things will slip by. Things are going to go on warp speed. Please apply now. Get it out of the way. Program directors will give you the information. They have it now, and you can start to apply. Next slide. So the qualifying exam. This is an exam that you might imagine is we're looking at the width and breadth of emergency medicine. We're looking at all of the components that make up emergency medicine. And you may say, well, why is it that, I'm from Arizona. Why do I need to know about deep sea medicine? Or I'm from so-and-so and we don't have snakes, or we don't. It's part of the specialty of emergency medicine. It's the width and breadth of emergency medicine. And our exam is going to try to test you on that. At this point in your career, if you've gotten to a point where you're graduating from residency, multiple choice exams are something that you have seen a lot of and you are comfortable with. And again, we would harken you back to take a look at your last year's in-training exam scores to give you a sense of where you sit in the pack as to how likely you are to pass it. And the good news is most pass it and pass it well on the first exam. We give it 1 week in the fall. We are, because it is a high stakes exam, we are very careful about security. It takes a lot to make these exams happen. Lots of time, effort, and money to be able to write these questions and to write them verifiably and to be statistically stable. In order to do that, we have to have the highest security possible, and we apologize, but in order to maintain the brand and the product, we're going to ask you to go to a Pearson VUE test center. And we understand it's a little bit of a imposition for many of you who have to travel to it, but please remember, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to make sure that the value of the brand is never going to be breached by a security issue. So please bear with us on that one. Criterion referencing. I'm not going to spend, this is not a talk on statistics or things of that nature. Criterion referencing is straightforward. When we write the exam, it has standards. They're set ahead of time. There's no questions asked. And when the exam gets in, that's how it's scored. There are many boards across the specialties that actually do curves, and they figure out how many they want to pass. And we feel that's not fair. We feel standards that are applied fairly equally to every candidate needs to be the standard. And that's how we practice emergency medicine. As you might imagine, that many graduates taking it at the same time within a 1 week period of time is a bit of a lift for the staff. But to their credit, we've guaranteed that you will get your scores back within 90 days. And, there's an old saying, under promise and over deliver. Don't be surprised if you get your results back before 90 days, but we will give it to you no longer than 90 days. And again, one more time, I cannot stress this enough. Please register now. Next. The oral exam. So let's talk. I'm sure you've heard that there's going to be a new certifying exam, quote unquote, oral exam coming forward. But let's talk about next year and kind of ground you for those who graduate in 2024. So Moving forward, you will take the exam, the written exam, and you move forward. And if you pass it, you'll be passed on to the oral exam. We will be having 3 exams in 2025. They are going to be given over a period of a week. You'll be assigned a date, and the dates are April 29th to May 2, October 7 to 10, and December 9 to 12. So it's about a 4-hour session. You do it at home, you do it in your office, you do it wherever you have the best connection, so that you will be able to go through that exam effortlessly and not have to worry about connectivity. What are you going to see? Well, you're going to see 2 cases, 2 types of cases. One, which I'm sure you've heard about from others, or is the typical single patient case review, where you sit down with an examiner, we give you the information, we role play, we will play the patient, we'll play the consultant, the examiners, and you'll go through the cases. Those are the cases that have been going on for the last 4.5 decades. Recently, when we started to do it virtually, we've decided to kind of ramp it up a little bit, and there will now be 2 structured interview cases. And actually, structured interview cases have met with a tremendous amount of success and have been well received, because the structured interview cases are not, we give you, we have a conversation. And we'll give you some information. We'll say, so what do you think? And we'll give you some more information. And what would you like to know? And now, what are you thinking? What do you think is going on with this patient? What test would you like? Why did you order that test? And the feedback has been that the day after you graduate, the day before, when you were talking to your attending, or a medical student was presenting, or a junior resident, a case to you, that's the conversation. That's the actual reality of what it's like to be in the emergency department. And it is done well, and people have enjoyed it. So that's what you are going to be doing. And again, the oral exam is interesting in that what we're looking for is, we're not looking necessarily for most, least, all of the, none of the above, which, by the way, we won't ask you the types of questions on the QE. But we're looking for other things. We're looking for problem solving. We're looking for judgment. We're looking for your ability to talk to a consultant, to talk to a patient, things that you can't do with, A, B, C, or D questions. And the idea is that we're trying to drive forward to the idea that we are looking at all of this and examining all the skill sets that we would like to have for a practicing emergency physician. Next slide. Felix?
Yeah, so why an oral exam? I think Dr. Carter already spoke to it a little bit. When we do our residency visits, probably many of those questions are, why have one? Although majority of the boards have oral exams, not all do. But we feel at ABEM that to have the highest standards, again, we assess more than medical knowledge, and really the clinical reasoning and judgment. And it's actually assessing different things from the model of the clinical practice of emergency medicine. So if we're going to have standards that differentiate us from others that may be seeing patients in the emergency department, our thought is that high standard differentiates us. And really the correlation between the qualifying exam, which is the written exam, and the certifying exam, which are oral, is one that we feel we need both. And the oral exam is actually an independent predictor of competency as defined of people that have adverse state medical board license action. Next slide. So emergency medicine, we're a profession slightly different than an occupation. And part of a profession is that we are self-governed. And part of that self-governance means we have a social contract. And that social contract is not only with diplomats, but it's also with the public. And every few years we do deep dives in making sure assessments and our certification process is the highest standard. A few years ago, your attendings probably remember we looked at continuing certification. About 2 or 3 years ago, we started looking at initial certification, which is the written and oral board. And we had quite an intense process where we looked for input from program directors, from employers, hospitals. We had members of the public, and We had interviews, focus groups, and analyzed quite a bit of analyze and synthesis, a lot of information. Next slide. And when we evaluated every single aspect of the initial certification, we found that in fact we had high standards for the written exam, and we found out that the oral exam was valid and reliable. But we also found that the oral exam could be tweaked, that we're ultimately not taking a test. Not every person that walks in the emergency department needs to have 2 large bore IVs in both arms. And with the feedback from the public and from our stakeholders, that we really needed to assess additional competencies. Next slide. Well, I think, Wally, is that you? Yeah.
Why with a big question mark? Well, why are we moving to this new certifying exam? I think, if we had our druthers, we would love to take you through the Becoming Certified initiative process. It was a multi-year process, and at the end of the day, or the end of the years, we had probably way north of 40,000 data points. We asked a lot of questions, and we spent a lot of time. We didn't spend a lot of time talking. We spent a lot of time listening. And what came through from the community was very, very clear. We needed to be able to demonstrate skills and abilities that are not measured by the written exam, that are not necessarily able to be answered by again, to date myself, with a number 2 pencil on a sheet. We needed to be able to look at the 360 degrees of what we consider to be a competent emergency physician. And what was interesting was when we spoke to the groups, all the stakeholder groups and all the chairs and everybody, there are a couple of things that rang true. And one of the things that rang true most importantly was the one thing and the one skill that every emergency physician uses on every patient every day they're in the emergency department, no matter where they're practicing, is communication. So these aren't skills that you don't know. These aren't skills that you haven't tested, or these aren't skills that you haven't worked on. You may not realize every time you talk to a patient or you do a debrief with your team, those are communication modules and modalities. We're going to ask you to demonstrate them to make sure that they were part of your training and that you have the mastery, so that when you go out there, you have all of the elements that you need. Next slide, please. So when with a question mark? Well, for those of you that are in the queue right now, you'll go through the process it is right now. 2025, the sun will set, and the next morning, the sun will rise on the new certifying exam. So if we put this into kind of boxes to kind of let you know where you live in this continuum, coming from the right, if you're a program director, lots of information. Feel free to copy this code, and this code will be available, and there's lots of information. If you are a faculty member or you're currently ABEM certified, keep on keeping on. The MyABEM cert continues to be evolved and improved, and it gets better every year. We think it's the true test of lifelong learning, and we think it's the real way that emergency physicians make sure that they stay up to snuff and that they are giving great care to their patients. If you're going to graduate in 2025 or late, and you didn't pass the 2024, you're going to continue to go to the Pearson Review Center and pass the QE. You're going to take the new certifying exam in 2026, and you're going to become ABEM certified, because that's the expectation. And if you're going to graduate in 2024, you're going to do pretty much the same process, except you're going to take the current virtual oral exam. And we predict, based on the numbers, that you will go on and you will become board certified, and you will become an ABEM certified physician. Next slide. So here's the thing that's interesting, and we presented this at CORD in New Orleans back in March. What was interesting was, for the first time in our specialty, and I think I mentioned this before, everybody in the room was in the same spot. We have not done this before, where we all, and again, fear of the unknown is a tough fear, and it always makes us nervous. But the good news is we are going through this together. We're going to do this the way emergency medicine always does it. We're going to do it as a team, and we're going to work through this together. Everything that we're going to do between now and the time we launch the new exam, the certifying exam, we will roll out to you. We are going to let you know where you have to be, when you have to be. We're going to send out videos around walking through the centers. It's going to be so simple. You have to show up in Raleigh, you go to the hotel. We will walk you from the hotel to the exam center. We're going to make this as easy as possible. We're going to show you sample cases. We're coming together actually next week to start to develop the process for writing these cases. And when they become available and we have a better sense of how this is going to look like, we're going to start to get this out to you. We're going to give you contents. We're going to give you scoring principles. We're going to do webinars. There's nothing that we want to keep away from you. We want the community in emergency medicine, whether you're going to take the exam, whether you're going to administer the exam, or whether you are a diplomat who's on the outside looking in, if you will, we want you to know that this is a process that as an EM physician, as an ABEM certified physician, that you should be proud of. This is not something, this is going to be highly thought of, highly thought about. And the best part about it is customizable and it is going to evolve. And I think it will, at the end of the day, when we look forward in a few years, I think once again, ABEM within the House of the American Board of Medical Specialties is going to be viewed as a leader. We're not faint of heart. And that's one of the beauties of being an emergency physician. So we're going to let you know what's going on. Next. Money. Follow the money. Again, you are graduating. You are have a lot. You at the. I always told my residents. I was a program director for 28 years. And I used to always tell my residents that when you were graduating in your last year, start to put money away because that last year when you graduate is going to be super expensive. You're going to need to find new housing. You're going to need to maybe move. You got lots of money. Your money is going to go fast in your final years. You make that transition from resident to attending. However, the certification fees, I think if you take those three, the application, QE, and oral exam, add them together, and then amortize them over the course of your career, 25, 20, 30 years, it's a few dollars a day. And it's probably the best investment that you're going to make because it's going to have you have the ability to be board certified and practice a specialty that we all love until the day that you decide that you want to do something else. And then once you finish the certifying exam, you're going to move on and we're going to give you a one-time, once-a-year annual fee, $300. Everything that you need to do to continue to maintain your board certification, the MyEM cert, anything else that goes along with it, all be included in that fee. Many specialties and many boards will kind of ask you for a few dollars for this and a few dollars for that. And when you put it all together, it kind of adds up to a lot. We upfront load, we tell you exactly what you're paying for, and we don't ask you for anything more because we understand money is an issue, and we want to make sure that we're good stewards. We are a non-for-profit, which means that the money that comes in from you and the money that we make from being able to be wisely investing some of that money, that goes right back into the diplomates and to maintaining our specialty. And I'll give you, I know that everybody on this webinar, we've all gone through, we love charts and graphs and heat maps and p-values. Next slide. I know everybody wants a chart and a graph. So here's a chart. That's where we are. We live, whether it be the written exam or the oral exam or the research fees, we are at the lower end of all of the boards in the ABMS. We have not moved our fees for, I said, almost a decade. And the reason being is we want to be respectful and we want to make sure that we squeeze every penny out of every dollar so that you understand that we're not taking our responsibility as a board to you and to our specialty lightly. We think about these things in great detail. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of a sense that yes, this is pricey, but anything that's worthwhile sometimes is pricey. And I can't think of anything that's more worthwhile than being able to be an ABEM certified physician. Next slide. So that's enough from Ray and Felix and I. Now we're going to turn you over to the content experts and a number of members of the staff of the American Board of Emergency Medicine. And I know that I speak for Ray and Felix and every member of the board when we say that the folks on Coolidge and East Lansing represent the best of any board anywhere in the 24 specialties. This is the best of the best. You'll get to know them over the course of your career. They'll call you back. They'll give you the right answer. So I'm going to turn it over, Sarah and Julie, and you're going to make us smart and make sense out of everything we just said.
Well, thanks, Dr. Carter. That's about probably the warmest introduction I could have ever hoped for. That was so sweet. I'm Julie Renner, and I am the Initial Certification and Policies Manager, and I work with a team of ABEM staff here to assist physicians like you through the certification process. So my colleague Sarah and I are going to go over the process with you, and if you have questions along the way, please put them in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end. If we run out of time, we'll connect with you after the webinar. But please put those questions in the chat or the Q&A. And I'm gonna let Sarah introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Sarah Moore. I am the Initial Certification Administrator. I work with graduating residents, getting them through the certification application, the qualifying exam, and then finally getting certified through the oral exam. I'm going to take you through some of the features on the website. If you want to go to the next slide. And show you kind of what's most important to you right now and where to look for things. If you go to the next slide, this is going to be the section that's going to be the most helpful for you right now. This is the Becoming Certified section. This is where you're going to find information on your board eligibility, the qualifying exam, oral exam, the structures of those exams. There's FAQs about those exams. It's just a really helpful area on our website if you have any questions regarding those. If you're looking for more of your personal information on the website, you'll go to the upper right-hand corner and you'll go to your ABEM portal sign-in. This is where you can update personal information, contact information. When we post scores, this is where you're going to go to view those scores. If you want to go to the next page. So most of you are graduates and probably haven't logged into our portal yet. So you don't have a user ID or password. Well, you don't have a password set up yet. So when you go to the login, you'll go to, you'll click on this need user ID or forgot password link. It'll take you through some verifying questions, and then it'll get you in contact with ABEM, and we can send you that information so you can get logged in. And then once you're logged in, go to the next slide. Up at the top, there's a personal information bar. It's really important. Once you click on that, one of the most important things to update is your email address. When you're coming to us from your residency programs, we most of the time have that email. And once you graduate, they shut that down. So then we have no way of getting hold of you after that. So if you get logged in, go ahead and put your Gmail account or Yahoo or whatever you use most of the time. I can go to the next slide there. Yeah, it'll show you where you can update that email address for us and other information. If you go to the next slide, applying for certification. So this is your first step of becoming ABEM certified. Next slide. Once you've logged into the portal, this is going to be what pops up on your screen. So to get started, you'll hit that green application button. And it takes you to this screen. This is your initial certification screen. This is where you will go throughout your whole initial certification process. It'll show you where you're at, what tests you need to take, if you have additional requirements for board eligibility. This first question you see, this is just to give ABEM an idea of when physicians are planning on taking the qualifying exam. So if you hit something that you didn't mean to, or you change your mind, not a big deal. It just gives us a rough idea. Next slide. And then once you answer that question, it'll take you here and you'll start the application. It'll go through some verifying questions, training verifications and stuff like that. And then you'll pay for that certification and submit it. Once you submit it, you will receive this letter. This letter gives you instructions on how to register for the qualifying exam once that's been approved, and then also how you check the status of your application. And I do just want to note that we actually today are in the process of approving a lot of those applications contingent. So if you've applied, you probably received a letter from us letting you know that it was approved contingent, because we really want you to register early for the qualifying exam and get that preferred seat that you want. And now I will pass it off to Julie Renner and she'll go through the exams.
Thanks, Sarah. So like Sarah said, you'll get an email when your application is approved, or once it's approved contingent. And you're going to, at that point, log back into your ABEM portal just through the same steps that Sarah showed you. If you want to go to the next slide. So you'll log in, click on Emergency Medicine Initial Certification, and then you're going to click that number 2, pass the qualifying exam. And then next you'll click on the register for qualifying exam button and follow the prompts on screen to complete your registration. Now the registration is going to ask you to reconfirm your contact information. It's going to have you click through some agreements regarding your medical licensure status, ABEM's professionalism requirements, and agree to our security and irregularities policy. After you register, you're going to get 2 emails. You're going to get one right away that's going to come as a confirmation that you've registered with the contact information and instructions for scheduling your appointment with Pearson VUE Testing Center. We really do encourage you to register and schedule as soon as possible because some testing centers do fill up far in advance. If you want to go to the next slide. So your exam results will be ready, as Dr. Carter said, within 90 days, but it's usually much faster. And we do try to get those out before Christmas, so you're not waiting over the holiday season. But we will assign you then automatically to the oral exam. So by the end of February, you'll receive an email that is telling you to check your ABEM portal for your oral exam assignment. It is a random assignment process, but because sometimes dates don't work, there will be a brief switch period, so you can request to move to a different exam administration if you need, and we'll do our best to get everybody assigned to an exam date that will work for them. If you submit a switch request, then after we have all those switches processed and everybody in their final seats, you'll get another email saying your seat's final. You can log back in and take a look at that. Then when oral exam registration opens up, you'll get an email to finalize your registration. You'll log back into the portal, complete an online registration process that is very similar to the one that you're going to do for the qualifying exam. You'll see then, if you want to go to the next slide, after you've registered, then you'll see the confirmation on your screen that tells you that you're all set. Date of your exam is confirmed. And then a few weeks before your exam, we'll send you an email to schedule your tech check, which is super important so that we can mitigate any tech issues that might occur on your exam day. And we'll also send you an exam packet that will have all of the information that you'll need for your oral exam. I do want to mention that our system is going through an enhancement process. So by the time that you're assigned to the oral exam, what you see on the screen might look just a little bit different, but your overall steps should be pretty much the same. And I do want to make one final comment. If you want to go to the next slide. Before we get into questions, I do want to mention that if you have a unique situation, if there is something that hinders your ability to take your exam on the date assigned or during an exam administration, if you have trouble finding a test appointment, anything, please just reach out to me or to Sarah. We've been doing this a long time. We've overcome a lot of interesting situations, and we can usually find a solution that would be helpful for you. And with that, I will turn it back over to Dr. Ankel.
No, thank you. And thank you for all that information. So we've gotten a few questions in the Q&A exactly about what Julie just said, is if you're in a situation where the dates don't fit with you, call. The other piece, I think if you're graduating 2024, try to get your written board exam in right away and plan on taking the oral exam and to get that out of the way. That I think in general delay is not beneficial. So I think just open it up to some questions again, either in the chat that's more of a public forum, or Q&A if you want to remain anonymous.
And Felix, we have gotten quite a few questions in the Q&A specifically about pregnancy and medical things that might impact somebody's ability to take both the qualifying exam or the oral exam in 2025. So Sarah, can you maybe answer a question or give some general information about ABEM's process and how we can help somebody in one of those situations?
Sure, yeah. So if you're asking for, let's say you want to take the qualifying exam this fall, but you're going to be deployed for military reasons, or you're pregnant and you're due at that time, if you let us know with documentation provided, we can allow you to take that exam early or at a later date. We can be flexible with that, because we do want you to, take that exam as soon as possible after you graduate. So we are able to have some flexibility with that. And then the oral exam is a little bit different, but we do have some flexibility with that. If you have something, same reasons, military deployment, pregnancy, or other things that are out of your control, with documentation, we can, like Julie had mentioned earlier, reassign you seats. And you might be like, this works great for me now, and then you find out down the road, oh no, I'm pregnant and I'm due that time. Just let us know. We have appeal process with documentation. Like I said, you can submit that and we will slip you into another session that works better for your situation.
Thanks. And just to clarify, when you said that exam initially, that was the written exam in terms of flexibility. The oral exam, there's different seatings, but also has a little bit of flexibility, small f rather than big F. Am I reading that correctly?
Okay. Yeah. So with the qualifying exam, we have more flexibility, as in there's not specified dates. So we can arrange that for them a little bit easier. With the oral exam, you would have to take it during one of the administrations that we have planned. We can just, if you're in the spring, we could maybe move you to the fall or the winter, or vice versa.
And there's a question about a medical license, about needing to verify your medical license. Can you give do you have any input about how candidates need to verify their medical license?
I can answer that. So you are required to provide medical licensure information when you submit your initial certification application, and then re-verify it when you register for the qualifying exam. However, I would assume for everybody who is on this webinar today, most of you are graduating this year, and we do have an exception that you don't have to have a full medical license in order to take the qualifying exam. We know that you're in transition. You might still just have your training license. So we want to make sure that you have a license of some kind, whether it be a training license or a full license. And then you'll be asked again before you take the oral exam in 2025 to provide information about your full finalized, the full unrestricted non-training medical license. You should be prompt along the way. If you didn't get a prompt at some point, that means that we don't need any additional information from you. Also, when we review your initial certification application, we independently verify everybody's medical licensure status just to make sure that everything is as it should be. So again, if you didn't get a prompt, that means that we've already taken care of what we need to take care of.
Great. So if you apply for the written exam and you're not asked for something about your license, it's all set, whether it's the training license from your program or what. Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
Looks like we have a question about what resources would ABEM recommend to help prepare for exams? How best can I study?
Well, I'm happy to take that in general, and it's always easy being on the sending area of this advice rather than the receiving end. I think the best advice is to really reflect on your residency and your training, at least for the the certifying exam, the oral exam is you know, the intent, especially with the new certifying exam, is you should be able to walk out of a shift into the assessment center and doing that. In terms of the qualifying exam, the first thing I would do is look at your performance in the in-training exam, because what it has is it has a predictor of the likelihood of you passing the qualifying exam. And so if your pass rate is higher than 90% predicted, I would take that as in terms of studying. I'm agnostic on any studying tools. I'd love to see what Dr. Carter and Dr. Johnson have say, but I think this is an assessment of what you should be doing every day while working in the emergency department. The one thing I'd keep in the back pocket before I turn it over is there is the model of the clinical practice of emergency medicine, and it's on ABEM website. It's really how we define the breadth and depth of emergency medicine. And so a lot of people have opinions on what is on the boards and what are not on the boards. The people that actually administer that oral boards and write questions for the written boards actually can't comment on that. But what I can say is that if it's not in the model of the clinical practice of emergency medicine, it's not going to be on the boards. And if it is in the model of the clinical practice of emergency medicine, maybe we can put a link in the chat on that. It will be on the boards. I don't know, Wally or Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Felix. I will just add that I think the editors and the writers of the exam really try to make sure that the items on the qualifying exam are relevant to the specialty, and we don't try to we don't choose minutia. We don't have a lot of variation across the country. We really try to focus on the bread and butter questions that every emergency physician should know. So certainly when it comes to the qualifying exam, I think Dr. Ankel is spot on with what you probably need to know. In terms of the oral exam, there's all kinds of resources out there. I know that many of you in your training programs actually do mock oral exams. And I think that once you've done that, I think you certainly have a concept of the way the exam is administered. And then it's just a question of going through the actual process. So I do think you're well prepared for both the written and the oral exams. But I agree, reflecting on your training and really taking advantage of everything you've learned there is what matters.
Well,
And
I think we'll
have,
stay on until there's questions. Wanted to thank you for your time. I know it's 12:45, and I think, Julie, I just interrupted you. So
I was just going to say we have one more question that I wanted to address. We've gotten some questions about just clarification for which exam people are taking, the new certifying exam or the oral exam. So for these folks who are graduating this year, within the next couple of weeks, graduating in 2024, in 2025, they will take the oral exam. So just wanted to give that last piece of clarification as well.
That's it.
great. And I think I can certainly speak for myself, but I think probably also for Dr. Johnson and Dr. Carter, feel free to reach out to any of us and reach out to any of the ABEM staff if there are questions that come up or if there's lack of clarity. And thank you for taking care of patients in the emergency department.
Yeah. Thank you, Felix. I would just add that throughout your career, ABEM will be here to continue to support you as a specialist. We want your certification to supersede things like merit badges and some of these state requirements when possible. And we are here to provide resources as you need them. So continuing certification is going to be your career, and we want to help you stay current. There are always going to be volunteer opportunities for you also once you become certified. So getting involved in the specialty, I think, would be just a fantastic thing for any of you to do if you so wish to. And we will continue to work and gather feedback and work with ways to listen to all of you as you go forward in your career so that we can continue to evolve as a specialty as well. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Just one quick reminder. Everybody may decide to be involved with one organization or another, and you don't belong to all of them, but the one organization you will be joined at the hip until the day you retire is the American Board of Emergency Medicine. So it is your guiding star. And as Ray said, just as a shameless plug, it's a nonprofit volunteer organization. We don't work without the talent and the time of our volunteers. So once you get past this little step in your pathway, we need your help. We need your brains. We need your talent. Think about helping us out to make this exam even better and ABEM even better than it already is. So good luck. Any questions, like we said, we're easy to find.